What's going on, everybody? This is Derek J407 here to give you my thoughts on AEW's Fyter Fest event live from the Daytona Beach Ocean Center and, of course, Daytona Beach, Florida. A top to bottom, very, very strong show. This is the second official AEW event. It was free, so I'm sure that enticed more people to watch it than they did Double or Nothing. But coming off of that Double or Nothing show, which I thought was a really, really great wrestling show and a great first outing for this new organization, I thought as a follow-up, on a lesser scale, this was a good show. A lot of really good matches throughout the show. A lot of really great stories were told. It was not perfect. There was a lot of down points of the show, like majority of the pre-show, and a very significant incident that took place in the middle of the show that it was built up as a very heavy angle and obviously is building up to a big match, I assume, for the All-In pay-per-view at the end of August, but has divided a lot of people from already that I can see on Twitter, and I have my own thoughts on it as well. But other than all that, I still thought it was a really good show. Even with that, it was still a good show at the least. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Speaking of that pre-show that I was talking about before, we started the pre-show off very strongly with a triple threat tag team match. We had the team of the Best Friends, of course, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. We had the Private Party, or just Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, and of course SCU, represented by Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. You have these three teams in there. Great tag teams. Really adds to the strength of the overall tag team division in AEW right now. And they had a kick-ass match. I really enjoyed it. Of course, Private Party, they're the youngest people in this match, like really young guys, Cassidy and Mark Quinn, and they were really impressive. And of course, you know, SCU, Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky are incredible. Beretta and Chuck Taylor are great. So you had a lot of great action in this match. A lot too much to even go through all of it, but a really fun match. And the finish saw the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Beretta, hit their finisher, the Strong Zero, on Isaiah Cassidy to get the win. Now, with this win, I believe, if I heard it correctly, this catapults them into getting a shot at crowning the new AEW Tag Team Champions at All Out. Now, I don't know if they're doing a tournament. Maybe it's the winner of the tournament faces them. I'm not really sure or clear about how that is. You would think I should probably know that, but they are. I guess this makes them the top contenders for the tag team championship match, whatever form it takes at All Out, or maybe they have a bye in the tournament that's going to be on the show. Not 100% sure, but that's basically what this was. After the match, the Dark Order, the masked guys who got "Who Are You" chants at the end of the match that these guys had at the previous show, Double or Nothing, they were up on the screen. They threatened the Best Friends. The lights went out, came back on. The minions who accompanied the Dark Order, they were out there surrounding the ring. Looked like they were going to attack the Best Friends, but then the lights went back off and they came back on and they were nowhere to be found. So I assume this is going to be one of the feuds we will see in the future for the tag team titles. And then after this match, the rest of the pre-show just kind of went downhill. Throughout the rest of the buy-in, I should say, throughout the rest of it, they were, having like a mockumentary kind of thing, playing up the Fire Festival thing, and some like different things were going wrong. They didn't have a pool. They couldn't afford like some pretty girls in bikinis to stand out there on the stage, so some of them left and they replaced them with models. They had a band that didn't show up, so they were kind of doing that with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So that was something going on, but the rest of the matches on the pre-show, not too much. We had Allie versus Leva Bates, the librarian, with the other librarian, Peter Avalon, in her corner. the whole librarian thing. You know, they were cutting a promo and being heels in the crowd. Now, this was in there was like a gaming festival going on at the same time as the show, so you had a lot of gamers out there. So they were telling like, no, enough with the video games, read books and all that kind of shit. And it worked on that degree, but I'm just not really into the whole librarian thing. You know, the stuff that they do. I'm just not into it. Ali won the match. There really wasn't much to it. It was like a super kick from Ali on Leva to win the match. And then the last match of the buy-in was Michael Nakazawa taking on Alex Jabali, who is a non-wrestler and is the CEO of CEO Gaming. And this was a hardcore match, a lot of garbage and shit. Nakazawa, the wrestler, won. That's all that matters. I didn't care. A lot of people weren't really feeling this, and honestly, neither was I. So that's the less said about it, the better. Let me talk about the commentary team for a second. The commentary team, when the show officially started, we had Jim Ross and Excalibur from the previous show, but we had the Alex Marvez, I think his name was, on Double or Nothing, who really wasn't on that good. We had this guy, Golden Boy, on this show, who I thought was really, really good on commentary. So take my hat off to him. The three of them had tremendous work, just great chemistry all throughout the night, and really focused in on the action and just made every single thing matter and made the characters and situations matter, especially in that incident that I was talking about. We'll get to that. But the first official match of the pay-per-view was Christopher Daniels versus Shima, the member of Oriental Wrestling Entertainment and the leader of the Strong Hearts faction that SCU faced and beat at Double or Nothing. So you had basically the two leaders of the respective factions having a one-on-one match here. Really good match. We got two veterans who've gone back and forth for years now. They've known each other for years, and they had a really good match here. Not really much to talk about. Shima had a injured back. I don't know if it was an injured back going into the show or if Daniels injured it in this match, but he had an injured back that Daniels focused on for a little bit. And yeah, a lot of great back and forth action. Daniels hit the angel wings at one point, but Shima managed to kick out of it, and he eventually hit his finisher, the Meteora, which is a diving knees onto Daniels, who was laid out. So diving knees onto his front torso and all that kind of stuff, and he got the win. So Shima gets a big win on this show, and I believe he is set to face Kenny Omega at the next AEW event in 2 weeks, the Fight for the Fallen show. That's that charity show in Jacksonville, you know, the charity show that's against gun violence and all that kind of stuff. So I believe it's Shima who's the one who's going to face Kenny Omega on that show, so it made sense for him to get the win here. The next match was a triple threat match with the women. We had Yuka Sakazawa, Riho, and Nyla Rose. Basically the two smaller Japanese women, the cute, bubbly Japanese Joshi women, taking on the powerhouse Nyla Rose, and it pretty much went the way you thought. Yuka and Riho, they tried to take down Nyla Rose at different points in the match, but she was just too much for them. She overpowered them several points throughout the match, but they stood up to her. You know, they held their own for the most part. Different points, they had some pretty good offense on her. At one point, I believe it was Rio, she stood up to her at different points. Yuka Sakazaki, I should say. She's beloved by the fans. Not that Rio isn't. Rio is definitely loved, but Yuka Sakazawa, she Sakazaki. Jesus Christ, these names. I'm sorry. Yuka Sakazaki. Let me put some respect on her name. She's definitely beloved by all the fans. And Nyla Rose, she didn't get a huge reaction when she first came out, but she definitely did during different points of this match, especially one key point where she had Rio hung up on the top rope, and she like literally the top rope in the middle of the ring, and she went up to the top turnbuckle and she dove off with a diving knee right to the back of her head to knock her down. So I thought that was a brutal move. She hit her beast bomb finisher at one point, but it was broken up. She went for it later on Rio, but Rio managed to slip out of it and turn into a small package and got the win. So Rio with the big victory in this match. After the match, Nyla Rose, pissed off, goes to attack her. Yuka, she comes over and helps her. She gets Nyla out of the ring and all that kind of stuff. Nyla leaves, and the camera really wasn't focused on the exchange that took place between Yuka and Rio, but it looked like Rio kind of pushed Yuka away. I don't really know what that was all about, but looked like there was some friction. The two of them were friends. They teamed up in that 6-woman tag team match at Double or Nothing, so they're friends. They're an alliance, but it was everyone for herself in this match, and Rio managed to get the win, so I guess there might be some dissension there. As for Nyla Rose, these matches have been some of the only matches I've ever seen from her, and I know they want to push her as like the big dominant monster in this women's division, but when you had Karma or Awesome Kong come out at Double or Nothing, that kind of undercut her a little bit, and then here you think, okay, you got two women that she can throw around and beat, and she ends up losing. Not only losing, but she's the one in the match to get pinned, and it's like, I don't know if you want to be beating the person that you're building up as this unstoppable monster. Like, clearly she's not unstoppable. She's been pinned. So, not the smartest move in my opinion, but it is what it is. Up next, we got a fatal 4-way match between Jungle Boy, who had the Luchasaurus at ringside with him, taking on Jimmy Havoc, MJF, and Hangman Page. MJF was the star of this match simply because MJF is a fantastic heel. I said this in my Double or Nothing review, and I've said this every single time I've seen MJF. The dude is awesome. Before the match, he was the first one out. He cut a promo on the crowd, calling them a bunch of losers and virgins, saying all their moms swallow, and just shitting all over them. You know, it was great. It was great. I see a lot of different cocky douchebag heels in him, like The Miz or old school Chris Jericho, you know, different versions. There's a lot of different douchebag heels that we've seen in different companies, different generations, whatever you want to call it, and he's great, and he was great at different points in this match. He got great heat from the crowd. As for everybody else, they were just kind of there. There was nothing overly special. Jungle Boy, who is the son of the late great actor Luke Perry, he was really impressive at different points in this match. Of course, Jimmy Havoc, the king of the death match, at least in the UK, and Hangman Page, the man who is going to be facing Chris Jericho in the main event of All Out to determine the new or first ever AEW World Champion. So you knew he was going to have to look strong in this match, which he did. He got the win. He hit the dead eye on Jimmy Havoc to get the win. And after the match, there was still jaw-jacking going on between himself and MJF. So that's clearly a feud that will happen at some point in the near future. Considering the fact that I don't really expect Hangman Page to win that championship at All Out, I think this would be a good first feud for him to kind of sink his teeth into and then build his way back up to that championship match at some later point. So, yeah, great stuff. Up next, Cody Rhodes taking on Darby Allin. Darby Allin has a very dark character. He's a traumatized childhood and all that kind of stuff. So going into this match, the story was a bunch of different people were telling Cody, don't take this match. You don't need to take this match. You shouldn't take this match. You know, coming off of the match with Goldust, or Dustin Rhodes, I should say, at Double or Nothing. And you got a tag team match with him against the Young Bucks coming up at the Fight for the Fallen show. You shouldn't take a match like this against someone like Darby Allin. So already they were doing a good job of trying to put this guy over. And in this match, they also did a good job of putting him over. Cody made him look very strong in this match. Of course, he did that while majority of the match he was kicking his ass. Like different points in this match, he was kicking his ass. At one point in particular, he launched Allin into the corner, and in doing so, his body kind of shifted horizontally and hit the apron, and he just landed on the outside. So I thought that was one of the best spots of the entire. Actually, it was, because there was another big spot later on in the match that was just ugly as shit. But Darby Allin, he managed to fight his way back into it. He pulled out some really good moves. He was really impressive. I have personally not really seen a bunch of Darby Allin. I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3 matches of his, and one of those matches was a few weeks ago, the match that he had an indie show with Jon Moxley, the one where Moxley put him over huge. So I haven't really seen a whole lot of him, but I thought he was really impressive in this match. But I did not approve of his move that he hit a little bit later. He had Cody laid out on the ring apron, a little on the outside. He went up top, and he fell backwards, hitting like a trust fall, like he was going to do a trust fall, kind of slam onto Cody. But Cody moved, and he landed back first, right onto the ring apron. It looked brutal, and if you listen to WWE, the commentators will tell you the ring apron is the hardest part of the ring. Yeah, it's redundant and annoying how many times they say it, but it is still true, and this move looked incredibly stupid and unnecessary. But that was topped in a little bit. We'll get to that in a second, I promise you. But yeah, so clearly, like, they kept saying the ring time or the time was expiring and all that kind of stuff, so you knew they were building up to something. So Cody, he put Darby Allin in a body bag. Darby Allin came out with a body bag with Cody's name on it, and Cody put him in the body bag, hit him with a disaster kick, only got a 2 count. He managed to get out of the bag. I like how I'm just casually saying a body bag. Cody, he has his weight belt, and he just started whipping Darby Allin with the weight belt, which I don't know why the referee didn't call for the disqualification. He was using an illegal weapon. I'm not sure why there was no DQ there, but come to think of it, Hulk Hogan and The Rock had their match at WrestleMania 18, one of my favorite matches of all time. And I think both men used Hogan's weight belt on each other, whipping each other with it. And I don't think the referee called for the bell in that case either, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess that doesn't count. I don't know. But they were clearly building to the time expiring, and that's what happened. Cody ended up hitting the crossroads and was slow to get to the cover. And by the time he did, the time ran out and the clock struck 0, and that was it. I think it was like a 20, maybe it was a 30-minute time limit. I for the life of me, can't really tell. I want to say it's 20 minutes, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So Cody is in the ring. He's calling for 5 minutes. He's saying he wants 5 more minutes. Add 5 more minutes to the match. The fans were cheering it. And then all of a sudden, from behind, out comes Shawn Spears, who we know from WWE as Ty Dillinger. He appeared in the Battle Royal on the Double or Nothing buy-in show, and that was the only time we really ever saw him. So he came out here with a steel chair in hand, and when Cody turned around, Shawn Spears unloaded on him and walloped Cody with the steel chair right directly on Cody's skull. Knocked him out, laid him out. Brandy Rhodes gets in the ring. She's trying to plead with Shawn Spears to back away and leave. You see Cody, a huge gash on the back of his head, bleeding out. MJF and SCU, or at least Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, they all came out there to try to help him to make it seem more real, because the MJF character is a douchebag, and the commentators were saying how much of a fan he is of Cody Rhodes and all that kind of stuff and how he likes him. But I don't know. I think he should retain that heeldom and not be coming out here in moments like this. Although, I guess is Cody technically a heel? I don't really know. Was this a heel turn? The fans treated it like that from Shawn Spears. So they were trying to push how real this was and how, effective and brutal this was, which it was. It told that story well. Cody got helped out and all that kind of stuff, and it was a very heavy angle. With that said, I think the chair shot to the head, unprotected, is completely unnecessary. That is from a bygone era, an era, mind you, that Cody Rhodes himself constantly, openly says is bad or is an era that he wants to get away from and is sick of. In 2019 wrestling, I don't see a place for chair shots to the head, especially ones that are unprotected. If you do a chair shot to the head and the person gets their hands up to block it or a little bit, you can still kind of make it look brutal, and you can tell that same story. They were playing up the fact that Cody was in a daze, the match just ended, the time limit expired, so he wasn't in the right frame of mind, so he just turned around, had no idea what was happening, so he didn't get a chance to get his hands up. Fine, you can tell that story. Even still, there was a way to do this with Shawn Spears attacking Cody that didn't need to resort to him hitting him in the skull with the chair unprotected. It was just stupid, in my opinion, completely unnecessary, and we just didn't need it. Some people may have liked it. In fact, I did see a few people who said they liked seeing that, but I saw a lot of people on my timeline on Twitter who hated that. And there were some people who loathed that spot. I wouldn't go that far. I understand why they did it. I just don't think we need to see it, especially not all the time. Hopefully this is the last time we ever see it, but honestly, we don't need to see it ever again, to be honest with you. But this is clearly building up to a match between Shawn Spears and Cody, probably at All Out. And to give them credit, Jim Ross, he mentioned something about CTE and concussions and all that kind of stuff on commentary. So it's nice that they openly acknowledge that on commentary. And they posted a picture on the AEW Twitter page of Cody Rhodes backstage in whatever they call their position. I guess it's gorilla for them too. Whatever they call it. He was back there. He had, I think, 12 stitches in his head, but he was not concussed, so that's great. He was just selling really well. But yeah, we don't need to see shit like that anymore. Up next, we had a 6-man tag team match. The Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix, teaming up with the Laredo Kid, taking on the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, who came out there in Street Fighter gear, dressed up as Ryu, Ken, and Akuma from Street Fighter. They even busted out a Street Fighter move at one point in the match, a Hadouken or something like that. It's been a long time since I played Street Fighter. I haven't played that since the arcade days. I played it on and off since then, but like back in the days, going to the arcade or whatever, that's when I really played it. So they look cool, and the fans popped for it. Obviously it's a gaming convention or whatever, so of course they reacted big to it. This was a crazy match from start to finish, and I loved every minute of it. Obviously, it was a spot fest. A lot of super kicks all throughout this match, but a lot of dives and all that kind of stuff, craziness. You got Phoenix in this match, so you know there's gonna be some crazy shit going on. But I really like this match. In fact, this was probably my favorite match of the night. A lot of fun stuff in this match, but way too fast paced for me to catch every single thing that happened. I do know there was one spot where the Elite was going for like a triple super kick on the Bros and Laredo Kid, and it turned out the Bros and the Laredo Kid hit them with the super kick, and that's when we got the Street Fighter spot. At one point, Matt and Pentagon Jr., they were on the outside. It looked like they were going to set up for a Meltzer driver on the outside. Nick, he got up on the rope, was going for a springboard, but then right alongside him, Phoenix hit a C4, or Spanish Fly, off of the rope onto Matt and Nick, Matt and Pentagon, who were on the outside. So this came down to Laredo Kid and Kenny Omega on the inside, and Omega ended up hitting him with the one-winged angel to get the win. So the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, the Elite, get the big win. Like I said, very fun match, start to finish. I really enjoyed it. So, fun stuff. And they announced this as the official end of the show, because what was coming up next was a non-sanctioned match. They were really hyping up how that non-sanctioned thing that really matters here in AEW. So, it was Jon Moxley in his first official AEW match, taking on bad boy Joey Janela. Joey Janela, Jon Moxley, non-sanctioned. Chaos ensued is basically what you can say to sum up this match. A bunch of chaotic shit. I can't even really go through every single thing that happened in this match. There was a bunch of chairs, tables, barbed wire wrapped around chairs that was used, barbed wire boards that were used, ladders, there was blood, obviously, thumbtacks in the end, just craziness all throughout this match. Like I mentioned, the barbed wire, there was a barbed wire steel chair that Moxley brought out, but ended up getting used on him by Janela at one point. There was a barbed wire board, again, that Moxley himself brought out that I think was used on him, although Janela later brought out another barbed wire board and put it between the ring apron and the guardrail on the outside, and he went to go after Moxley, but Moxley ended up dumping him on it. So both men went through barbed wire. There was 2 tables set up by Moxley on the outside, and he ended up getting laid out and put on one of them. And back in the ring, Joey Janela climbed a ladder. So he's on top of a ladder in the ring and dove off, hitting an elbow drop, crashing right onto Jon Moxley through the table. So one of the tamest, safest spots of the entire match, because it was pretty much all downhill from there. That's when we got the barbed wire board between the table and the guardrail, and then we got Moxley pulling out a bucket that had thumbtacks in it. He pulled out the bag of thumbtacks, spread it all over the ring, and then he went over to Joey Janela and took off his boots, took off his socks, and exposed his bare feet. He went to drive Janela feet first into the thumbtacks, but Janela ended up trying to fight out of it. He did fight out of it for a second, but then that's when Moxley hit him with a flip suplex onto the thumbtacks, and then he picked him up and basically gave him an atomic drive on, but like just kind of planted his feet right into the thumbtacks. Dude let out a horrified scream, like he was in just agonizing pain, which you can imagine he was. But then he got on his knees and was begging on Moxley to do more. He flipped him off and all that kind of stuff, basically saying, "Is that all you got?" And it was not, because Moxley ended up pulling out another bag of thumbtacks and then ended up giving him the double underhook DDT, or as JR called it, the paradigm shift, onto those thumbtacks. And in doing so, one of the thumbtacks ended up popping right up in Moxley's mouth, and then he just spit it out. Then went for the cover and got the 1, 2, 3. So as you expected, Jon Moxley wins this match, this fight, this war, this brutal, intense, sick fight. So as you expected, Moxley did get the big win. I don't think that was ever in any doubt. Just like I don't think it was ever in any doubt that right after the match, out came Kenny Omega to attack Jon Moxley. He ended up giving him a pile driver onto the broken table that was on the outside. Gave him a diving foot stomp, had the pieces of the table on top of Moxley, ended up giving him a diving foot stomp. They fought over on the side of the stage set where the band stuff was supposed to be, ended up hitting him with a microphone and a guitar. Omega left, and the referees were helping Moxley back up. Then he ended up pushing them to the side, saying, "I don't need your help." Then Omega came back out with a trash can, hit that on Moxley, and then ended up giving him the paradigm shift, gave Moxley the paradigm shift onto the trash can. And that's how they went off the air, with Kenny Omega standing tall over Jon Moxley, and Jon Moxley laughing, almost as if this is exactly what he wanted, and this is the kind of mode he wants Kenny Omega to be in going into their match at All Out in August, a match that I'm very much so looking forward to. And like I said, that was the end of the show. That was it. And I don't have too many complaints. Like I said, I said my piece earlier, but that chair shot, completely unnecessary. The pre-show, aside from the opening triple threat tag team match, was just kind of weak. And but overall, I really like this show. So the next time AEW has a show is in 2 weeks. Fight for the Fallen. They'll have some competition from WWE on that same night, which is very interesting. But that's it. But in terms of wrestling for me, up next will be the start of the G1 Climax next week on Access TV, live in Dallas, Texas, with the main event of Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we have Extreme Rules for WWE, which coming after that, after this show, is going to look tame as hell. So that's it for me. I will come back to you at some other point with wrestling and AEW and all that other stuff. So until then, check all y'all later.